Hey there, and welcome to the Truly Great Life podcast. I am Ilana Ivan, your host and guide on this journey to exploring what it really means to live a life that's not just good, but truly great. And in this brief introductory episode, I'm going to share just a little bit about myself and what you can expect from this podcast. Okay, so since 2018, as a certified life coach and positive psychology coach, I've been on a mission to help people, possibly like you, figure out what they want to do with their life. So whether it's finding clarity in their career, balancing work and family, time for yourself, figuring out what you want to do with your life, I've been there guiding folks to discover their path. But before coaching, I was juggling the full-time mom gig with a small transcription business. This is back in the days before all that fancy tech like Otter. And I worked with everyone from medical professionals to academics to filmmakers. But honestly, it was not my cup of tea. It paid some bills though, and for that I am grateful. And before motherhood, I worked in sales and marketing across various industries, and I got my MBA. I'm also a Gen Xer, a proud mom with kids starting to leave the nest, boo-hoo, and happily married for a very long time. And I love my husband. Okay, now this podcast. Oh my gosh, this podcast. So it's been a dream of mine for so long, and I'm thrilled to finally be here sharing it with you. So what we're going to do in this podcast is explore some of the big questions, like what is a truly great life? What the heck are we doing here? Why does it matter? And these are questions that have literally kept me up at night for many years, not so much anymore. Otherwise, I would not be having this podcast sharing ideas with you to consider for what that all means. But I do suspect that maybe some of you have been staying up looking for the answers to what it means to have a truly great life in some fashion or form as well. Okay, so picture this. It's the 1990s. I'm fresh out of college, looking for work, and all I hear is get a good paying job, do what you love in your spare time. But something didn't sit right with me. And it was like I felt like I was the only person who was feeling like there should be meaning in my work back in the day. Now it seems like this idea of meaningful work is much more common, much more understood to be a good thing for people to be looking for. But at the time when I got out of college, it was really like people looked at me like I had three heads. And that's fine. But if this sounds familiar to you, stick around. Okay, so my journey took me to several different states. I even went overseas to Israel. And yes, I am Jewish. I'm also Israeli. If that makes you uncomfortable, this may not be the podcast for you because I do bring in a lot of my Jewish identity, Israeli culture, Hebrew, the whole shebang, and spiritual God talk as well. So that comes a little bit later, as I will explain in a minute. So if that doesn't have you running for the hills, or if you're just curious, stick around. So in relation to all that, this past year has been especially eye-opening for me, as it probably has been for many of you listeners. My oldest child moved to Israel shortly before the world turned upside down on October 7th. And over the past year, that has really influenced a shift in my perspective, especially with my work. I've come to realize it was time to pivot, to rethink what truly matters with my work, my focus, and who I want to help. Finally, getting this podcast up and running is part of it. Okay, so what does truly great life mean? I know it sounds like chutzpahdik. That's kind of cheeky. I need to figure out how to explain chutzpahdik. In any case, it's not about being like Alexander the Great or anything grandiose. For me, it's about finding what's true. And truth sometimes seems in short supply depending on where you get your information nowadays. It's also about embracing what is great for you. Joy, pleasure, delight, meaning in your everyday life and experience. And it also means valuing life, valuing and believing you can make change, get things done, and that you're here for a reason. Okay, so ask yourself, do you feel we're living life to the fullest? Do you feel you're living life to the fullest? Are you on autopilot? The answer is probably somewhere, in the middle, right? Sometimes we're on autopilot. Sometimes we're very engaged, very aware, and feel like we are living it to the fullest. Okay, so this podcast is an invitation for you to explore what's real for you, meaningful for you, what makes your life awesome, what brings you joy. My intention, my hope is for you to come away from each episode with at least one pearl, one nugget, one gem, one insight, okay, from each episode that you can start applying right away or at least gets you thinking about something in a new or a helpful way. So the first 30 episodes after this one are a series that I started back in August of 2023 called 30 Ways to Happy Days. But they hit in the middle of October as well. So post October 7th, it eventually evolved into what I called 30 Ways to Stronger Days. All right. It's been a journey, and I am sharing it all in real time, unedited, flaws, emotions, the whole shebang. And after that, I just continue to share other recordings I've done throughout the year, and moving forward, whatever I share is going to be aligned with what I believe is helpful for each of us to find and engage and create a truly great life as it makes sense for you, as it resonates for you. And I feel that if more people out there are even asking some of these questions and are willing to wrestle with them, then that helps make our individual worlds better, our individual experiences better, and those of, the concentric circles of relationships around us, ourselves, our families, our friends, our relationships, our communities, etc. So I hope that this podcast helps create ripple effect in your life and in others' lives. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you hear, hit subscribe, share it with friends and family you think may appreciate it. And any feedback or questions, reach out to me on trulygreatlife.com, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks again for listening and for being here.